Until around the time I turned 17, my life was mostly uneventful. On days when it was nice out, I would take walks around the house's grounds, sometimes napping beneath a tree. It was picturesque, and you were always there with me. You have the same flax-colored hair as me, but yours always seemed to glisten in the sun, whereas mine is flat and dull. You shone like a tiny little dancing sun. At the time, I assumed that was how life would always be. I genuinely wanted it to be. Following my 17th birthday, though, I was met with a deluge of changes. First, Father fell ill and passed away shortly thereafter. With his death came the question of who would be the next head. As the oldest son, normally it would fall on me to take his place. I was 17, by all means enough of an adult to handle things myself. Or, well, that's what I thought anyway. Nobody else did, though. After discussion I had no part in, it was decided that my uncle would be the next head. That they weren't confident I had the spine to do the job properly. I wasn't sure what to think. Part of me wanted to know why nobody bothered talking to me, and part of me was relieved. Somewhere inside I knew I didn't have what it took, so I was more than happy to let someone else take that responsibility. If it meant I could go on with my quiet life, I didn't care who they picked. My uncle, though, seemed to have caught on to my apathy, which he did not take kindly to. In response, he formally disowned me. "You're not the only one who still had some growing up to do, Nellie. I wasn't quite the adult I thought I was either." Fortunately, if you want to call it fortune, I was given enough money to live on for a decent length of time as well as a place to stay. It was a small house, far from home, his way of making it hard for me to come back. Not that I had any intention of returning. But the best thing to come out of it all was you coming with me, Nellie. "So this is our new home, dearest Mell?" "Yep, so it is. It's amazing how little there is. No big yard, no paintings, no vases filled with colorful flowers, no silver bowls full of fresh-picked fruit. But there's you and me. You're not going to go and say you want to return home in a couple of months when you realize life isn't as luxurious here as it was back there, are you? There's only one thing in the whole wide world I really need." "Oh?" "Honestly, I can live without shiny shoes and pretty dresses like Mother wears. I don't need composers to come and write me songs for my birthday. As long as I have the one thing that matters most to me, I can do without anything else." "Are you saying I'm as happy as I've ever been? I don't need all that fancy, expensive stuff. We may not have a huge yard, but the sun shines everywhere. Flowers can grow even without a gardener tending to them. Nellie, I'll do whatever I can for you, dearest Mell. Are you hungry? I'm hungry." "Oh, yeah, a bit." "Alright, I'll make something then. Start off with some fruit jam, then maybe make a pie of it. What else sounds good? I'm craving cookies." "You've got quite the sweet tooth. You're going to make yourself sick like that." "That's the first smile I've seen since we got here." "What? That can't be right. I'm sure I've been smiling." "Nope, you've been frowny all day." "Whatever you say. Forget about all that stuff at home. We've got each other. We can do this. Who cares that we're not rich anymore? We'll figure things out in no time. And then we'll have even more fun than we did back there." "Yeah, you're right. It'll all work out, dearest Mell. I'll always be here for you. You've got yourself an adorable little princess. What more could you possibly need? Cheer up." "Thanks. I'm really glad you decided to come with me. Did you think for a second I wouldn't? I'm your princess, dearest Mell. And princesses belong with their princes." "I suppose so." Until that day, I had never known how good it felt to have someone who wanted me in their life, who saw me for me. I realized for the first time how blessed I had always been. I was hardly prince material. I wasn't strong or handsome or regal enough for that. But Nellie calling me her prince gave me the illusion of being worth something. It made me feel like I could keep on being that richly blessed young man, even this far away from home. While I I had been given some money, my supply was far from infinite. I knew I would eventually have to find some kind of work, some way to support myself and Nellie. But to be quite honest, I couldn't gather the motivation to do much of anything. My whole life had changed so abruptly, so dramatically, that my mind just wasn't able to keep up. It had knocked me on my backside, and I didn't have the strength to get back up. I couldn't tell Nellie that, of course, so this is what I said instead. I'm staying home because I want to be with you as much as possible. And she happily took me at my word. Our new life together was quiet and unremarkable. Even so, it was still a constant stream of new experiences for the two of us, having been pampered our entire lives. Welcome home, dearest Mell. What did you buy today? I got, a chicken. Wow, I've never seen one up close. I've never seen one so up close before. Are we going to keep it as a pet? I was planning on using it for supper. What? You're going to cook it? That's the idea. You like chicken though, don't you? Steamed especially, if I remember right. Yes, but it's all covered in feathers and flapping about. How are we supposed to cook it? If I remember, the guy said you have to pluck its feathers, then cut off its head and drain all the blood. No way, absolutely not. Not in a million years. You do it, Mell. What? I've never done this before. Well, I'm not, so you do it. Alright, alright. I'll bring it to the... Not inside, do it outside. Okay. I've never had to slaughter a chicken before. The chefs back home always took care of it. God, I hope I don't screw this up. Well, I'm not gonna accomplish anything by just sit here worrying. Just gotta give it my best shot. Please, please don't put up a fight. I can't watch. On the count of 3, okay? The count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Wait. Come back. It's gone. At first, I was just fumbling about in the dark, constantly messing up everything I tried. But in time, I started getting more comfortable with things, and I stopped pining for my old life. For the longest time, I couldn't shake the memory of the fact that I had once been a noble. I was constantly wondering how I had ended up there, why this was happening to me. Nellie had seemed to have adjusted fairly quickly, but I wasn't faring so well. I was surprised, honestly. I figured if anyone was going to have an issue with our new lifestyle, it was going to be her, not me. Back home, Nellie tended to be, well, a bit of a princess. She was frequently harsh with the Abigails, scolding them for the smallest of things. There were times I thought she might be biting her tongue for my sake, but every time it crossed my mind she would say, "I've got you, dearest Mell. Everything's just fine." And it was those words that kept me going. Oh, dearest Mell, I just had the most wonderful idea. Would you like to hear it? Sure, what's your idea? We should get married. What? You can't be serious. As serious gets. I mean, we're basically married already in everything but name. We can't do that, we're siblings. Nobody here needs to know that. They can guess from our hair and eye color, though. I don't think we look that much alike. Anyway, whatever gave you that idea? If we get married, then we can be together forever. We can do that just as well as brother and sister. It's not the same, though. No one ever says two siblings lived happily ever after. I want to be with you for the rest of my life, dearest Mell. And the best way to do that is to get married. But, Nellie, what are you so hesitant for? Is there someone you pine for? No, but... then there's no problem. We're blood-related siblings. Does she realize that getting married means eventually having children, and everything that leads up to that? That goes against the teachings of the Lord. No, she's still just a kid chasing after a fairy tale ending. She doesn't understand the reality of what she's saying. Sometimes I'm not sure what to do with you, Nellie. So you'll marry me? But right now I know you need God's word. Starting tonight, you're getting your own private sermon every night, understand? My instruction was as much for my own sake as it was for Nellie's. I'm not going to lie, the thought did cross my mind that her proposition might not be so bad. For one, I couldn't imagine spending the rest of my life with anyone else, and it had been her smile that had kept me going when things got difficult. But I knew that it was a sin, and I didn't think I would be able to live with myself if I crossed that line. So night after night I taught her, reminded her that we were brother and sister, and that we didn't have anything to be more for her to be the most important person in the world to me. And after about our 3rd month away from home, that life began crumbling. Nellie woke up one day with a high fever that refused to break. At first I thought it was just a cold and that she'd be over it soon enough. But as much as I tried to convince myself, oh, she'll be better tomorrow, she just kept getting worse, until eventually she couldn't even get out of bed. She had visibly lost weight. I had never heard her voice so weak and lethargic before. Is there anything you'd like me to get you, Nellie? All I want is you to be here with me, dearest Mell. You really should eat something. I'll make something you like. How about a nice, expensive chicken? The last one got away, but I won't let that happen this time. I'm not really in the mood for anything too heavy. Okay. Don't you worry, Mell. I'll be better before you know it. Yeah, you will. You'll be just fine. Everything's going to be back to normal soon. Watching Nellie grow weaker every day scared the hell out of me. I desperately did not want to lose her. If I lost her, then who would be left that wanted me? Who would tell me I was worth something? Who would say nice things about me? Who would be there with me every day? Just when I had started to feel optimistic about this new life, started to feel comfortable in it, it was looking like it might fall apart again. I searched everywhere for some medicine that could cure her. Healthy foods, fruit and vegetables with supposed medicinal properties, anything I could get my hands on. I prayed. And Nellie, you were overjoyed. You were thrilled I would go to such lengths for you. But the reality is, I was really doing it for myself. But as much as I searched, I couldn't find anything that worked, and I started to panic. I would go to bed at night afraid to wake up the next morning, and Nellie wouldn't. I was already grasping at straws, and I was ready to try anything that had even the slightest chance of curing her. And then one day, I heard whispers. Whispers of a witch who lived by the lake. They said she was a recluse, that she hardly ever left her house, and that she hadn't been down to the city in years. They told me she might have some medicinal herbs that could help, so I rushed down the lake to see her. Sitting by the shore was a small cottage, even less luxurious than where Nellie and I were living at the time. Seeing the thin trails of smoke rising from the chimney, I was convinced the rumors were true. A witch lived in that house. I wasn't sure what to expect. Being a recluse, I figured she wasn't going to be very sociable, at least. To tell you the truth, I was kind of scared to knock on her door. But I had exhausted all my other options, so I clenched my teeth and gave the door 2 firm raps. Who's there? The sound of her voice caught me off guard, and all I could do was stare at the door with a knot in my throat. Based on the information I had, I'd assumed I was going to find a wrinkly old woman. But that was the voice of a young girl. And even though she'd only said 2 words, there was something indescribably enchanting about that voice. I could listen to her talk for hours on end in some kind of strange hypnotic trance. It was almost like magic, for a lack of a better word. I stood there, dumbfounded, like my soul had been sucked from my body. Who's there? She repeated her question, which brought me back to reality. Though I still had to fight to maintain my wits enough to respond coherently. My sister has fallen very ill and she desperately needs medicine. I was told that the person who lives here is a skilled herbalist. Could I please get something to treat her? What are her symptoms? She's got an extremely high fever that won't come down. She has no appetite, she's only drinking water, and she can't get out of bed. We're going to want to lower her fever first. After that, get her on a nutritious diet. I'm going to give you 2 medications. Give her the first while her fever's high, and the second after it's come down. Thank you very much. Her voice wasn't bright and energetic like Nellie's. It was more restrained, somber and quiet, yet simultaneously clear and sharp. The sound tickled my curiosity. I wanted to know what she looked like. I wanted to know what kind of girl stood on the other side of that door. With a voice that pretty, she must be equally lovely, I thought. And I had to see it for myself. And my wish didn't fall on deaf ears. When she opened the door to hand me the herbal medicine and take my money, her head peeked out between the crack ever so slightly. I said I would tell you everything exactly as it happened, so I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It was unsettling. It was nothing like I'd imagined from her voice. Her skin had, I guess, fallen off or something, because you could see the raw red flesh beneath. To say it was hard to look at would be an understatement. Most of her face was covered by a black hood, so all I could see was her mouth and chin, but even that much was harrowing. The last thing I wanted to do was look away. For all I knew, that was why she had become a recluse. I couldn't let myself hurt her, so I suppressed my own disgust and put on my best smile. People often tell me I have a very pleasant, amiable smile, so I figured I could use that to prevent her from picking up on what was actually going through my head. And when she saw my face, a look of surprise seemed to cross hers. The witch's herbs did indeed seem to help some. Going to visit her was better than talking to any of the local doctors. Nonetheless, Nellie hadn't been cured. She was only feeling a little bit better. So I kept paying the witch visits, kept purchasing more herbs from her. And every time I went to that cottage and heard her sweet voice, I imagined how much sweeter it would sound without a door obstructing it. Even knowing what she looked like didn't stop the curiosity from growing within me. From what I gathered talking to her, there wasn't much of an age difference between us either. She was 16, I was 17. And I'm sure you know how it is. When you meet someone around your age, you feel a sort of sense of kinship. This girl I had originally believed to be some kind of otherworldly witch was starting to feel like a regular person to me. Through our conversations, I managed to learn her name as well as the fact that she had come from a faraway country. We were both a long way from home. Thinking she might open up even more to someone who'd been through a similar experience, I decided to try inviting her to go on a walk with me. It's not healthy to stay holed up on side all the time. You've got this beautiful lake right here. What do you say we take a little walk around the shoreline? To my surprise, she accepted. Great weather, isn't it? I love the way the sun reflects off the surface of the lake. It's gorgeous. Are you okay? I'm in disbelief, to tell you the truth. What for? You've seen my face. You know how hideous I am. And still you invited me on a walk. You're a very peculiar person. Is it really that strange? I mean, we're almost the same age, so I figured we might make pretty good friends. You want to make friends? With me? Well, sure, we've been through a lot of the same things, so we can understand each other better than most. Understand each other? Yeah, we're both young, but we've been through some rough times. I'm going to be blunt with you. You have not been through anything like I have. What? No? If you had experienced the things I have, you wouldn't be smiling right now. I haven't known you long, but I don't need to have in order to know how unequivocally dissimilar we are. That we were cut from a very different cloth. Well, yeah, we're people, we're not made of cloth, so... That's not what that means, you know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be so harsh. In fact, I would say you're much better off not being in my position. Sounds like you've been through a lot. If you don't mind me asking, what happened to you? I'd be happy to lend an ear. It might make you feel better to get it off your chest. And that is what's so different about us. Huh? I will not tell you about myself, no. That said, I do appreciate the concern. Thank you. Oh, sure, you're welcome. She's not very open with people, huh? Though I guess that's only to be expected. She hasn't spent much time around other people looking the way she does. Wonder if there's anything I can do for her. At least get her to show a little bit of emotion. If it's not too much to ask, you think maybe we could do this again sometime? Don't expect me to lower my prices. I'm not trying to squeeze a better deal out of you. I just wanted to get to know you better. Nothing more to it. No ulterior motives, promise. Did you forget? I've already said I won't be telling you about myself. Alright, then it doesn't have to be about you. We can talk about anything, whatever you want. Do you have a favorite food? Any hobbies? Nothing in particular. Well, that was a fruitful conversation. Okay, cram. I have no interests or tastes worth mentioning, so if you want to talk, I suppose that leaves you to be the subject. Me? Tell me about yourself. My life's not all that exciting. Anything I had to tell you would probably just bore you. I'm not looking for excitement. Okay. Alright then, I guess I can tell you about myself. And so I did. I told her about my family situation, and I told her about Nellie, and that was pretty much all I had to talk about. For the most part, she hardly even reacted to anything I said, so it was difficult to tell if she was listening or not. But she would urge me to continue whenever I go quiet for more than a few moments, so I suppose she was listening. Every time I came to purchase more medicine, we would go on a walk around the lake together. A single loop around the shoreline didn't give us much time to talk. My attempts to reduce our walking pace, or stop to extend our time together, were flatly ignored. And she refused to go around more than once, claiming it would disturb her daily rhythm. That said, she never refused an invitation either, so I don't think she particularly disliked me. Yet anyway... A robin? What does a robin have to do with your sister? Nothing, I just saw one over there. If you listen, you can hear it singing. They migrate somewhere warmer when it gets cold. They just fly off to someplace more comfortable. If I had wings like a bird, maybe I could be free too. There is not a single creature living in this world that is free. Birds regularly get shut down by hunters or preyed on by larger birds. The idea that they are free is nothing more than man's short-sighted delusion. Sorry, I guess? No, I should be apologizing. I wasn't trying to attack you. I simply lack the ability to properly empathize with others. I do not understand people. So please, if I say anything that upsets you or makes you uncomfortable, don't assume that was my intention. Sure. Maybe you're hiding it, or maybe you just don't know it yet. But I think you've got more empathy than you're letting on. Surely you can't say nothing affects you at all. You are human. So you don't have to be so closed off. I may not be able to do much for you, but I do want to get to know you better. I want to understand you. So if you ever feel like talking about yourself, just know that you've got an eager pair of ears here. Okay? If there were ever someone who could understand me, who could empathize with me, they would not be human. What do you mean? That you would need to be so far removed from any idea of humanity to have a chance at understanding me. Regardless, I do appreciate your kind words. Sure. So, out of curiosity, do you have anyone, really important to you in your life? Not at the moment. Does that mean you used to? I'd love to hear about them if you don't mind. They're all long dead. 4 years ago, something unpleasant occurred, and as a result of that, I was forced to part ways with the people who taught me that humans have the capability for kindness. I'm sorry. Well then, if your sister's condition worsens again, come see me. Farewell. Hey, maybe we could walk a little slower next time so we have more time to talk. I want to get to know you better. I'll consider it. Does it really require that much thought? So long. Bye. See you soon. Things continued on like that for a while. Nellie bounced back and forth between getting better and worse. Emotionally, I followed not far behind, gained very little in the way of peace of mind. Having to spend so much time worrying over and looking after Nellie was starting to wear me out. Even though I knew good and well she had it much worse than me. I wanted to be done with it all. I wanted to be free. I wanted her to get better as soon as possible, so I could stop agonizing over her. So at some point, I started wishing for a miracle. I didn't care if it came from God, an angel, or something less holy. I just wanted someone to cure Nellie and take the weight off my shoulders. And during one of our walks, I let that slip. I'll take anything at this point to make her better. I'll even take a miracle if I can get one. I assumed she would, as she had a tendency to, say that people who believed in miracles were delusional. She was, in my mind, very much a realist, which is why her response surprised me so much. Do you sincerely wish for a miracle? What? Do you truly want a miracle, no matter what form it may take? Well, yeah. I've tried everything else. God is all I can ask for help anymore. I know you're going to say there's no such thing as miracles. If there were, Nellie would already be better. I've prayed every single night for her recovery. It's all just a delusion, I know. Miracles do exist. What? If you have faith, and you sincerely wish for her to be healed, you will be granted your miracle. What are you talking about, Morgana? You've said many times that you wish to know more about me. Yeah, I have. Well, I'll grant you that wish. As you listen to my story, you will come to understand why I said you will never be able to empathize with me. And as you do, hope will sprout within you. Here in my lakeside cottage, I am known as a witch, but I did not used to be called such. No, I am the daughter of God. Most people would dismiss such a claim as madness, and I almost certainly did exactly that. But there was something strangely enchanting about her voice, and I found myself slowly drawn into her tale, listening intently to her every word. The more I heard, the harder it was to believe she was lying. And before long, I was convinced she was the daughter of God, a saint whose blood had miraculous powers. Her first cry ended a lengthy drought in the village where she was born, and her blood cured the sick. She rolled up one sleeve to show me her arm. Practically every inch of her skin, from her shoulder to the tips of her fingers, was scarred from where she had been cut. According to her, the scarring had once been far worse, but improved with the application of ointment. Every single one of those scars, she said, marked a person who had sought her blood, and I believed every word. There was something about her that set her apart from the rest of us normal people, like she was some higher being. They were not self-inflicted wounds, nor the marks of someone who had tried to take her own life, but symbols of the great sacrifices she had made. She offered to give Nellie her blood, and without a moment's hesitation, I accepted. Mell? Hey Nellie, I'm back. And I brought someone with me. A saint. A saint? Yep, she's here because medicine has been working for you. She can perform miracles, so she's going to cure you. Miracles? That's right, her blood has miraculous healing powers. blood. Fear not, my beloved sister. Hear my words and do as I say. You must have faith for the miracle to be performed correctly. I give you my blessing, that it may bestow unto you salvation. I give you my love, and I give you relief. Hear my words. I hear them. This body was created not in a mortal womb. This flesh is not the flesh of man. This blood is not the blood of man. The water that flows through these holy veins flows from the river of creation. Have mercy on them, O Father. May the infirm find comfort in your warmth. May the destitute find reprieve in your generosity. May my flesh bring nourishment and health unto this girl. Bestow upon her your blessing, O Father. Morgana held a pale hand above Nellie's mouth, and without hesitation sliced her own wrist. Blood slowly trickled down her middle finger from the cut, dripping into the gap between Nellie's bluish lips. I stood there, entranced by the scene. It was like I was witnessing some kind of ritual. I wasn't sure, however, whether to describe it as sacred or profane. Watching the fresh blood trickle from the cut on her wrist made me break out into a sweat, feeling like I was violating a taboo. My knees rattled and I could barely stay on my feet. Needles pricked my hands. Thoughts slipped through my fingers before they could fully form. Had I crossed a line that wasn't meant to be crossed? Had I stepped into territory man was never supposed to enter? In time, I stopped processing Morgana's prayer as words. It became nothing but a rhythmical sense of sounds bouncing around in my head. My line of sight grew gradually narrower. What? Are you alright? The ceremony is complete. How's Nellie? She is asleep right now, but she should soon awaken. Good. My blood has the power to cause miracles, but you must remember that the miracle is predicated on your faith. So you're saying we need to worship you? No, I am merely God's progeny. Your praises and prayers should be directed at my Father and the Lord God. I should get going then. Hey, thank you very much. When Morgana had said I would never be able to understand or empathize with her, she had not been lying. Having only heard her tell of it, I'd still believe there was room for me to close the gap between us, that we still had enough in common. But seeing it with my own eyes, feeling it with my entire being, I no longer had any illusions of us being on the same plane. As I gave her my thanks, my voice was audibly trembling. Mell, come on, get up, dearest Mell. Mell? Nellie? Finally, you're awake, sleepyhead. What's with the look? Am I making a funny face? Are you good to be up and about? Yep, I woke up this morning feeling wonderful. Feel my forehead, Mell. See? No fever. It's gone. She actually performed a miracle. I only remember bits and pieces, but I remember a pretty saint lady showing up and giving me her blood. That's how she remembers it? Her memory is pretty hazy, huh? And then I got this warm and fuzzy feeling inside me. Then I had this really strange dream. What kind of dream? There were a whole bunch of lights floating all around me, and they were changing into all sorts of different colors. It was the most wonderful dream. That doesn't help me understand at all, Nellie. It was a good dream, and that's what matters. It must have been the Saint Lady's power at work. Must be, yeah. I'm so relieved you're feeling better, Nellie. Sorry for all the trouble I caused you, but now everything can go back to normal. Yep, all back to normal. She wants to thank me? Yeah, Nellie's was insisting I let her meet you so she can show her gratitude. So if it's alright, would you mind coming to supper sometime? That would probably not be wise. Why not? It would hardly be pleasant having to eat in the presence of a face as grotesque as mine. And I doubt your sister would react well to the sight of it. I don't think it would cause any problems. Nellie isn't the kind of girl to judge someone by their looks, I don't think. Perhaps not, but to her, I'm a saint, not a normal person. In her mind, she thinks I'm beautiful, doesn't she? We must maintain that illusion. It is essential to the miracle that her faith remains unwavering. And on some level, that faith depends on her idealized image of me. You think so? Though our time together was brief, I could see it in her. She is a girl with a great love of beauty. And perhaps the same could be said of you. I don't judge people by how they look. It's what's inside that matters. I'll take you at your word. Thanks. So, are you sure you don't want to come? I really shouldn't. I'm terribly sorry. Okay. Why in the world am I feeling relieved? Nellie recovering was a huge weight off my shoulders. Now everything could go back the way it was, quiet and unremarkable. I could finally go out and get a real job, forget about my old life, live like a regular old commoner. That was what I was going to do for the both of us. The problem was, Nellie hadn't actually recovered completely. She was in nearly perfect health the first few days after drinking Morgana's blood. But soon, her fever came back. She stopped being able to get out of bed, and on top of it all, she started having lengthy coughing fits. During some of them, she coughed up little bits of bloody phlegm. I nearly had a panic attack. So I rushed down to Morgana's cottage and told her what was happening, to which she responded with a quizzical tilt of her head. Nellie's health meant everything to me. It certainly wasn't the curiosity her head tilt seemed. It certainly wasn't the curiosity her head tilt seemed to make it out to be. Oops. But it didn't seem to bother her at all. The miracle took place, but it didn't persist. That doesn't make much sense. But it's true, she can't get out of bed. And it's not a problem with her faith. I've been teaching her the Word of God every night. And she absolutely believes in you, her saint. Lower your voice. I will perform another miracle for her. You'll do it again? I will not forsake those who are in need. And it'll stick this time, right? I cannot promise anything. But why? Your miracles aren't supposed to be temporary, are they? Whether they are or not is decided by you and your sister. You're my only hope, though. Please do not worry. If a second blessing is not enough to cure her ailment, then I will visit and give her my blood as many times as necessary. I will gladly give her every last drop of blood in my body. I assure you, my father does not want to see two young souls like yourselves torn apart, and neither do I. We should get going. All right? For the second time, Morgana had Nellie drink of her blood. For the second time, she was healthy again the next morning. And for the second time, she fell ill again shortly thereafter. Her fever returned. I went to get Morgana and she gave Nellie her blood. The cycle repeated again and again. And every time I had to watch her go through that ceremony, it was exhausting. I wasn't sure I could handle it much longer. I started thinking maybe there wasn't anything sacred about any of this. That it was as blasphemous as it looked from the outside. I was making a girl cut her own wrist and feed my sister her blood. Nothing about that sounded right. But I had nowhere else to go, no one else to ask for help. When I was with Morgana, listening to her words of reassurance, she, without fail, wiped away all of the doubt I had. It wasn't until after she left that wave of regret hit me. It wasn't sure what was right and wrong anymore. I wasn't sure what to do anymore. Every time I went to see Morgana, it got more and more difficult to look her in the eye. I stopped asking her on walks as often, and I stopped trying to have chats with her, not so much out of a sense of guilt, but because I was getting to be afraid of her. One of those training days, someone knocked on the door. I hadn't asked Morgana to come down that day, so I wasn't sure who it could be. Nellie was asleep in her bed, so I quietly rose from my seat and made my way to the door, trying not to wake her. Who is it? Hello? Who's there? I had an inkling of a suspicion, but having been raised in such a sheltered environment, I didn't understand exactly how dangerous it was to thoughtlessly open the door to anyone who came knocking. I pulled the door inward a couple of inches and tried to take a peek through the crack. When out of nowhere, someone grabbed me by my shoulder and shoved me, helpless to resist, into the house. A man stood there above me. What do you think you're doing? What do you want from me? I don't have anything valuable. I'm just a regular old peasant. I'm not here to rob you. What? You're in contact with the witch, are you not? Huh? The girl who lives by the lake calls herself a witch. Witch? I don't know any witch. The only one who lives there is a saint. A saint? I was told she was a witch. Regardless, there's a girl there who lives there with miracle blood, no? Looks like I've got the right person. What? What do you want from me? I want you to help me. Huh? I need you to lure the witch out into the open. And why do you need that? Because I need her blood. I need to get my hands on the witch's miracle blood. Then go ask her for it yourself. Why should I have to help you? She won't open the door for me. But you, I've seen you talking to her. You seem to be quite friendly with the witch. Taking little walks around the lake. How? I need your help. And what are you going to do once you're outside? I have orders from the Lord to take her captive. What? The Lord? Why would he? That is none of your concern. You expect me to buy that? All I need from you is to get the witch out of that house. Why would I? She doesn't trust me. I can always force my way in, but there's a chance I might go wrong, and I can't risk that. If she hears your voice, she'll open the door, yes? The witch trusts you, unlike me. With your help, there's no risk of anything going wrong. Now, you barge in here and tell me you want to capture her, and you think I'm just going to agree to help? Like hell I will. Don't worry, you'll get your share. You need the witch's blood too, right? I don't care about getting a share. You're asking me to deceive her. I don't care what you think she is. She hasn't done anything wrong. So no, I won't help you capture her. You leave me no choice then. He approached the bed where Nellie slept, drawing his sword and pressing the tip against her throat. It happened so quickly and without any warning, my mind couldn't keep up. I stood there, mouth half open like an idiot. If I were courageous, if I were gallant and brave, then maybe I would have grabbed him, pulled him away from Nellie, but my legs seemed to be severed from my mind. They were frozen to the floor like two useless rocks. You have two options. Either you say no and protect the witch, get away, or you help me capture her. Get away from her right now. And if you choose the witch, I'll kill the girl. Get away. Make your decision. Get away from her. You have until the count of 10. If you don't choose, I kill the girl. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay, I'll do it. I'll help you, so get your sword off her face. Don't kill her. I thought you'd hold out until the last second. Well, what are you waiting for? Let's get going. Get moving. You pitiful little boy. I felt like jumping into a lake. I couldn't make sense of how I ended up in such a position. Just a few months earlier, I'd been living back at my family's estate, hardly a worry in the world. Nellie had been healthy and happy. It hadn't been exciting, no. But I had figured that this was how things would always be. That one day, I would fall for some noble girl. Nellie would get jealous, and I'd just spend several days or even weeks pacifying her. Everyone would be happy, a life free of troubles. Because that was normal, and I was normal. So what was I doing? Living in some tiny cottage so far from home, feeding my sick sister miracle blood. What was I doing, walking beside this barbarian? What was I doing at all? I was conflicted. Part of me hoped we would never arrive at the lake, and part of me wanted to get there as quickly as possible so I could be done with all this. But time plodded on no quicker or slower than normal, and we arrived at Morgana's door in short order, irrespective of my own selfish hopes. The thought of what was going to happen next filled me with a sense of crushing guilt. I may have been afraid of Morgana, but I had no grudge against her. I was actually quite grateful to her. She was still healing Nellie, even if the ceremony to do so inspired fear in me. She didn't hesitate to cut her own wrist open for Nellie and for me. She didn't grimace or even frown, though I knew it had to hurt. I knew damned well she wasn't a bad person, that she hadn't done anything to warrant being taken into custody. She might have very well been a genuine saint. But there I was, selling her out because a man with a sword threatened me. Oh, Father who art in heaven, please forgive me for what I'm about to do. Please, please forgive me. Quit sniveling. You want her to get suspicious? But how? I can't, please, oh God. Stop crying. Or would you rather I kill you here? Just close your eyes. It'll be over before you know it. Do it. Call on the witch. Who's there? It's me. I'm not here about Nellie today. I'm sorry for being so distant lately. I want to talk things over. I thought I heard a faint gasp through the door, and then she responded. I want to talk to you too. Why? Why did she want to talk to me now? She'd always been so curt, so rational, so quick to cut down my fantasies. Never one to get emotional or sentimental. She'd always given off the impression of being something greater than we mere humans. Always been so aloof, never giving any indication she thought anything of me at all. So why? Why did she sound like a normal girl now? Why was her voice trembling slightly when she said she wanted to talk? Why now of all times? Get back. No. Stay away from me. No. Help. Don't kill me. Take it. What? That's your share. Should last you long enough. What? Why did you take my arm? What do you mean, my share? What? Why? It all happened in less than a minute. I told her I wanted to talk. She opened the door, and then I heard a sound like the wind whipping past my ear. And the next thing I knew, her cottage was covered in blood. Never once did I expect anything to happen how it did. When he said he'd wanted to capture her, I took it to mean exactly that. I hadn't thought he would turn brutal. That he would do something so horrific. After the man cut her arm off, Morgana tumbled to the floor, floundering about as he watched, blood trickling down the curved blade in his hand. Her screams were indistinguishable from those of a normal person. Her arm. Kneeling in the grass at the lake shore, I vomited and I vomited and I vomited. Things I had seen in the cabin were far too much for me to handle. I tossed the arm, Morgana's arm, the man had given me into the lake. What else was I supposed to do with it? It was an arm, a human arm. You'd have to be insane to go around carrying someone's severed arm. I tried to convince myself it was all a dream, some terrible nightmare, but I could still feel the warmth of her skin fresh on my hands, the warmth of her blood on my fingers, dragging me back to reality. My mind couldn't keep up with the flood of thoughts and emotions and images. I wanted to close my eyes, but I was too afraid I would find the bloodbath in the cottage on the back of my eyelids, which left me with nothing to do but wail. I was horrified at what I had done. I knew I was the one who had set it all in motion. If I had kept quiet, Morgana would have had her arm cut off. But I didn't want to admit it was my fault. I didn't want to accept that I had caused it. I did nothing wrong. It's not my fault. He threatened me. So it's not my fault. I had no choice. I didn't do anything. I frantically scrubbed my blood-soaked clothes in the lake. As I watched the red cloud spread, I knew I was defiling something pure and beautiful. But my awareness of that fact was slowly dissipating like the blood through the clear water. By the time I had gotten all the blood off my clothes, the sun was beginning to set. I came back to my senses at the sound of a bird chirping and quickly recalled that I had left Nellie alone at the house. My legs were shaking and I could barely keep myself upright, but remembering her gave me enough motivation to drag myself back home. If she hadn't been there waiting for me, I seriously might have thrown myself into the lake instead. Mell? What's the matter, dearest Mell? Where have you been? Mell? I'm so sorry. What? I'm so sorry. Will you ever be able to forgive me? Dearest Mell? I never meant for this to happen. I'm so sorry. Please, I'm begging you to forgive me. I'm begging you. Were you not able to get my medicine? Is that what you're crying about? It's not that big a deal, Mell. I'm just fine, honest. I'm all right. Thanks. I wanted to forget everything. I wanted to forget about my involvement, about the horrible things I caused to happen. Whenever I lay down to go to sleep, I heard her screams, Morgana's animalistic howls. I saw her cottage, blood splattered everywhere. I felt her severed arm still warm in my hands. From that day on, what sleep I got was hardly restful. Nellie probably didn't notice anything through her feverish haze, but I'm willing to bet I looked like hell. Praying time would cause the memory to fade. I started looking for doctors again. Instead of clinging to a miracle, I would try to have Nellie's sickness cured the way normal people did. At some point, though, all the money I'd been given started running out low. If I'd thought about it for 2 seconds, I would have seen it coming. I hadn't exactly been frugal in my attempts to find a cure for Nellie, nor had I been especially concerned about money before she fell ill. I was so used to living like an aristocrat, and I had succeeded in breaking those old habits, which left me with only one thing I could do for Nellie: be with her day in and day out. Every day that passed, I lost a little more hope. If I couldn't do anything and Nellie died, I would be utterly alone. And that was what scared me more than anything. The nightmares were eating away at me, leaving me with nowhere to run. And if I didn't have someone there with me, I wouldn't have been able to hold myself together. After 3 or so days of me sitting by Nellie's bedside, hardly moving, there was a knock on the door. is it? Open the door. Unless you want me to kick it down. My suspicion was correct. I couldn't think of anyone else who would come visit. But what I didn't know was why he had come back. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Open the door. Leave me alone, please. I want nothing to do with anything you're doing. Open the door. I'm not letting you in for any reason. Okay then, I'll break it down. Don't. My sister's inside sleeping. I don't need you waking her up. Then open it. What do you need? I did everything you asked me to already. What happened to the witch's arm? I threw it away. You really think I was going to keep that? A person's arm? Mell, what's going on? Do we have a visitor? Nellie? I should get them something to drink. Don't worry about it, Nellie. You get some sleep, alright? Can we go outside? I'd rather not talk in here. Fine by me. So that's your sister. Explains why you look so much alike. That's none of your damn business. You wanted the miracle blood to cure your sick sister, did you not? And you're telling me you threw the arm away. Or are you interested in getting more blood? What? We're taking the witch's blood, turning it into a medicine, and selling it through the church. Selling it? You're doing business in a house of worship? No, I suppose we're technically giving it away. But we're asking for tithes, so it's really the same thing. I'm not from this land, so to me it looks no different than a business, but the people here, they see it as charity. The Lord says if you'll assist us, He'll provide you with the medicine we're making. The Lord? What? Would the Lord be? Hell if I know. Because it seems like good money? So will you help us? You're gonna make me get my hands dirty for you again. I can't. Not again. Right, I forgot to mention one detail. You don't have a choice this time. Huh? You know about the miracle blood, which means we can't let you go unattended. If you say no, I have permission from the Lord to kill you on the spot. Why? So will you help us? Or will you die here? What was the right thing for me to do then? Should I have fought back and died? Should I have tried to run? Should I have taken my own life? I'm sure you've heard enough to know by now that I'm a weakling, a pushover. I didn't have the spine to do anything but agree to meet with the Lord. He told me about the mansion, and he gave me one of a set of 3 keys. I wanted so badly to get rid of the key. With that man's shadow constantly hanging over me, I couldncouldn't bring myself to do it. Not when I could be the next one to end up losing a limb or two. There's no way I could have disobeyed them. And that's everything that happened 6 months ago. Every day since I arrived here, I've brought Morgana breakfast and supper. She doesn't say anything, but I saw in her eyes the first time I stepped through that door. How could you do that to me? I've never looked her in the eyes since, because I'm too afraid of what I might see in them. And that is how I ended up here. So he was threatened. He didn't actually want to cause Morgana harm. That doesn't excuse what he's done, though. See, what did I tell you? I'm not at all the brother you thought I was. Mock me, ridicule me, call me worthless, a coward, a terrible person. Go on, what are you waiting for? But you were threatened, Mell. He said he would hurt me, hurt you. That's the only reason you went along with him. You didn't do anything wrong, dearest Mell. The other man is the bad guy, not you. did the best you could. You didn't have a choice. That terrible man forced you to do everything. Nellie, you didn't do anything wrong, dearest Mell. No, I didn't. I didn't do anything wrong. I had no other choice. That's not true. All you're doing is closing your eyes. What? You mustn't coddle yourself. What was I supposed to do then? Don't be mean to my Mell. Did you really do the best you could? Did you, even once, try to do something about the situation, as hopeless as it may have seemed? Could you not even conceive of any other options? Could you not have come up with something else to say at Morgana's house? Something that might have given her the slightest clue she was in danger. But when she opened the door, did you do anything? Did you even so much as attempt to stop him? My legs were shaking so bad I couldn't move. There's no way I could have stopped him. Then at the very least you shouldn't have fled. You should have stayed and told her the truth. That you weren't there willingly, and maybe she wouldn't have felt so utterly betrayed. But he was there. You think I could have actually stayed there with him? Not a chance. And it's not like Morgana would have... She opened the door because she trusted you. She isn't the easiest person to read, but she was opening up to you. And what did you do with that trust? Stop it, please. You made your point. It's not all Mell's fault either. If anything, he's a victim. He was just trying to protect me. Were you listening to anything he said, Nellie? You were not Mell's first priority. He did what he did for his own sake. Well, what did you expect me to do? Pull courage I don't have out of thin air? What's so wrong with self-preservation? There was nothing I could have done to stop him. I'd love to see you try and do any better. Then maybe you'll understand how scared I was, how little I could have done. It must be nice to be an outsider, to talk about my experiences like you know anything, analyze my decisions, go on about what I should have done. You don't have a damn clue about how terrifying it all was, how I felt having to go through it. Oh yeah, you're right. It sure would be the courageous thing to go sacrifice your life for something else. But you know what? People like that only exist in stories. Except you don't actually understand that. You just want to give me crap for not being perfect. Do you want my pity? Is that all you want? If I tell you I feel bad for you, and oh how hard it must have been, will that satisfy you? Do you not want to know what you can do now? What's even left to do? Nothing I do is going to make her situation any better. It won't make her arm come back. All is not yet lost. Open your eyes. Take a good long look inside yourself. Think about what you can do. Stop sitting on your hands telling yourself it's too late. There's still time to make a difference. You just have to commit to act. I don't think you're an especially bad or cowardly person. I think you're an ordinary young man. It might sound like I'm telling you to do the impossible. But soon, the time will come when you must make your choice. When you must stand up and take some responsibility for what you've done. No one's childhood lasts forever. The good days are long behind you before you ever realize they passed. When faced with the consequences of your actions, you should not have turned and run, but held yourself accountable. It is perhaps a disproportionately large burden for you to bear, but it's fast approaching, and you need to make a decision. Find your courage. Set Morgana free. Mell. even if I open the door for her, it's too little too late. She'll never forgive me after. Is her forgiveness the reason you should act? No, it's penance for what you've done to her. Atonement for your sins. Whether she forgives you or not is beside the point. The question on the table right now is whether you are going to do the right thing. And what about her blood? Without Saint's blood, Nellie won't. You don't have to worry about me, dearest Mell. My life isn't so important that I want to take someone else's away to keep it. I'll think about what I can do to help too. It's partially my fault after all. So please, Mell, set the Saintess free. Your quiet life is built on a foundation of lies, and I know that by now you've realized there's no real value in a life like that. You wanted to do something about this. You sought salvation. Salvation? But who would give it to me? I already told you that I would. But why? Because I promised you. And you expect me to believe that? Yes. If you choose to sit here and wallow in your regret, there's no going back. Now is your only chance to make a change. Mell. Alright. I'll help you. Set her free. Dearest Mell, I knew all along that that was what I needed to do, but I could never bring myself to act on it. There was no way I could accomplish anything alone. I'm basically helpless on my own. Everything about this is so completely outside anything I've ever had to deal with before. So I had no way of having any idea what I was supposed to do about it. God can be pretty cruel. Why would he force a boy like me to make such a difficult choice? Yes, he can be. You were made to be part of a more normal, a less tumultuous world. But you've come too far to go back to that. So the least you can do is change the world you're in now. Yeah. I doubt I need to remind you, but you know you can't get in with only my key. You need all three, and the other two, they don't feel an ounce of remorse. Taking their keys won't be easy. Easy or not, we have to get them. And I'm sure there's a way. There must be. Just so we're clear, you're not going to overpower them. The guy with the sword's much stronger than you, and he knows how to use a blade. And he's the Lord's bodyguard, so you're not getting near the Lord either. Even the two of us together won't stand a chance against him. You seem pretty weak from the looks of you. Who knows, maybe I am stronger than you. God, I really do want to hit this boy. Deep breaths, Michelle, deep breaths. There must be some way we can get their keys. I know they both have people they're close to. People they're close to? We can talk about that later. Now that you've made your decision, talking with me isn't your top priority, is it? Mell. Nellie. I'm sorry for involving you in all this. And I'm really sorry for being, well, what I am. I'm no prince, that's for sure. You were always my prince, though, dearest Mell. You did your best to be the brother I wanted you to be. Honestly, I adored the way you fawned over me. All that affection just felt so good. What? It made me feel like I was special, important. Having someone to care for, to pamper, it was empowering. That's the kind of guy your brother is. If someone else, some other girl were ever to show up and call me her prince, say she loved me, I would probably try and act like a prince for her too. Why would you say that? Because all this, it's been so hard on me. Such a huge weight on my shoulders that every so often I would think, just how much easier it would be if I could get rid of her. If Morgana was just a regular girl, not a saint or a witch or any of that, just a pretty girl about my age, she might have been the one getting all my attention instead of you. That's who I am. That's not you, dearest Mell. You're just beating yourself up. Maybe you would have chosen her over me, but that wouldn't make you any less of a kind man. How can you say that, after everything I just told you? Because, Mell, Tell me how despicable I am, Nellie. I'm not the brother you once adored anymore, am I? You're not what I once thought you were, but you're still my one and only brother. That will never change, no matter what kind of person you become. It was wrong of me to try and make you into my prince, Mell. I should have done my job, as your one and only sister in the whole wide world, been there to help you as much as you helped me. I kept pushing my fairy tale fantasies onto you, and you did your best to live up to them, and I ended up forcing you to pretend to be someone you're not. That's not true, Nellie. I enjoyed feeling idolized, but you knew it couldn't last forever, did you? I should have been beside you, not looking up at you. I let you coddle me. I let myself indulge in your love. I thought everything would be alright as long as you kept telling me how adorable I was. They were like magic words to me. I kept my eyes shut. Mell, starting today, I'm going to do my best to be your sister. I'm done holding you to fairy tale ideals. I won't make you pretend to be a prince for me anymore. And I won't try to be your princess either. I'm just going to be your little sister. So get back on your feet and stand tall, dearest Mell. I know you'll probably have to pay for what you've done when the Saintess goes free. And I know I'll probably cry about it for days. But I won't regret making the decision. Well, I don't know what to say. I wasn't expecting you to handle this so maturely. You're putting your big brother to shame, Nellie. Mother once told me girls grow up faster than boys. She was right about that. Thank you, Nellie, for accepting me in spite of all the awful things I've done. And for having me as your brother. You're quite welcome, dearest Mell. Well, looks like that's one problem solved. They finally reached the point in their relationship where they belong. If she could have come to terms with herself sooner, come to an understanding with him, then maybe she could have reeled in her ideals before she lost control of them. Maybe. This Nellie and the other Nellie seem to be of the same essence. They both have a somewhat excessive love for their brothers, and that love expressed itself by transforming him into a prince. If she could have done the same thing as she did, if she could have done the same thing then as she did here, then maybe their tragedy could have been avoided. This is before then, though. Since they were able to fix things up in this life, maybe it'll have a positive effect on their next life. This could change the future. They may share the same souls, but they lived in completely different times. Do you really think something like this could have any effect on the lives of people living hundreds of years from now? There's no way to be certain, of course, but considering how tightly the two seem to be bound, I doubt it will have no effect. I hope it has some effect. Giselle, I was there, in the mansion, as it all happened. I just stood by and watched. I feel so guilty about that. If I had done something, then maybe it wouldn't have turned out like that. I hate what I was then. What I was until just recently. From the memories left imprinted throughout the mansion, I showed you bits and pieces of their lives. As I told you their tale, the only thing I contributed was disparaging commentary. I don't feel like you were that critical of them. I absolutely was. I talked about them like they were somehow beneath me. Yes, you did occasionally offer an opinion on someone or something you showed me beyond the doors. But the fact you were mostly detached from the events is what allowed me to get to the core of their characters. If you hadn't been in the position you were, so you could tell me the story the way you did, I would have never been able to talk them into helping. You contributed more than criticism. Your words weren't for nothing. They made this possible. Makes me feel a lot better hearing that from you. And if you still regret your inaction, then make it up now by taking action here, and have faith that it will bear fruit in their next lives. I will. I wonder if Morgana might have a change of heart too. It's not like Mell wanted to bring her so much pain. He deeply regrets what he did, so maybe she won't bear quite as much resentment for him when she learns that. Yes, I know what you're going to say. If that was enough to assuage her, she wouldn't have held on to her hatred for all those hundreds of years. Still though, I hope it does something for her, however small. As do I. It's gotten pretty late, so I'm gonna take Nellie back to the cottage. Okay. If you have some secret plan to get the other 2 keys, could you fill me in on it tomorrow? Sure. Also, I could get you another room if you wanted. This one isn't the nicest. No, it's fine. I've come to realize I'm more at home in less comfortable environments. Michelle. Am I just imagining it, or is that as depressing as it sounded? That's not quite what I was going for. Well, anyway, if you're fine with it, suit yourself. I've got one huge lingering question, if you wouldn't mind enlightening me. Yes. Why would you go to such lengths for me? You seem to know Morgana, so I can understand why you'd be fighting for her. But me? I had a part in putting her in that tower. You have every reason to hate me. So why would you want to help me? If this was all it took for me to hate someone, I would curse every last man and woman in the world. I bear no animosity for you. And even if I did, you've committed to take action. That doesn't explain why you were so concerned about us. It almost seemed like you actually cared about me and Nellie. But we're complete strangers, we just met today. Because some part of me couldn't think of you as strangers anymore. Huh? That's right, when he came by this afternoon to talk, he didn't feel like a stranger to me either. It was weird, like he'd known me my whole life. So I made him into my second brother. Your second brother? You're more than welcome to change the order, Nellie. Make him number 2 and me number 1. I wish I could join in and be a big sister number 1. I'll have to think about it. After all that, you might be number 1 material. Whoa. Why is that even up for consideration? I'm just kidding, dearest Mell. Oh. I'm still kind of confused. But anyway, I'm glad someone like you showed up. I've actually been praying every night for God to send someone who can get me out of this. I really am useless all on my own. Constantly looking for someone to help me, unable to do anything by myself. And trust me, I realize how pathetic that is. Now you must have had a pretty good life to be so proactive in the face of adversity. I bet you had everyone's respect, helped people in need, had plenty of friends who had your back, and weren't tossed out by your family like I was. You must have been incredibly blessed. I'm jealous, really. Sorry, that came out of nowhere, I know. I should be going. See you tomorrow. Good night, Michelle, brother number 2. Good night. Michelle, he wasn't trying to be... Yes, I know. I just thought it was rather funny. I'm not taking a stand because I've been blessed, but because I've got nothing left to lose. I fight for Morgana because I understand what it's like to be tortured day after day. Having experienced the loss of my siblings, I didn't want the two of them to go through the same thing. If anything, it's those who have lost the most that are most likely to take action. I'm not sure if you realized it or not, Michelle. But you've gotten to be a great deal more expressive since arriving in this era. I can't see your face, but I can hear it in your voice, and I can feel it in your presence. So I'm sure it's showing there too. Making all sorts of faces I've never seen before. Some of the things you've lost, you seem to be getting back. So you can't say you've got nothing left to lose anymore. Promise me, you'll let me see all those new faces for myself someday. I will, I promise. If we can manage to destroy the mansion, that should release you from its darkness, and allow us to see each other once again. I trust you. I have faith we can do this. Wait, with the mansion's destruction, both our souls should be returned to their rightful places, which would mean erased from existence. Giselle? What? I just thought. I sensed you grimacing. Wow, you felt that? What's the matter? Sorry, I didn't want to bring down the mood. It's just, well, I know this is asking for the moon, but I was just thinking it would be nice if you had a life you could go back to. If I did. Yeah, I mean, here you are, expressive as you've ever been, walking around outside, being around other people, talking to them, after all that time in the mansion. And without a life of your own to go back to. I'm sorry. After seeing you behind your door, and learning how cruel and inhumane life was to you, I feel like the world could stand to do something good to make up for it. It's done all the good it needs to. I have someone who cares enough to lament my fate. What more could I ask for? Michelle. Thank you, Giselle. You're not the only one who's asking for the moon either. I wish I could have a life with you as the person I am now. And for that, knowing I have no future feels worse now than ever before. Alrighty, that's enough moping around for one night. We should start planning for tomorrow. Things are definitely looking up. It only took one day to get Mell on our side, so let's keep it up and win over the other two. I would certainly like to, yes. Where'd all that confidence go? The other two won't be nearly as easy to convince as Mell. I'm not even sure if we'll be able to talk them into helping. We do have a pretty good idea who the Master Swordsman's in this for, though. The nun. So maybe we can get to him through her, like we did today with Nellie and Mell. Maybe. Alright, then we'll start by approaching her tomorrow. Sounds like a plan. The Lord, though, him I'm not so sure about. I'm assuming he's from behind the third door. But we didn't run into anyone he was close with today. And in Morgana's telling of the events of the Harvest Festival, she only mentioned 5 people. Let's see, the Lord, the Swordsman, Mell, Nellie, and the nun? There's one person unaccounted for. We just haven't run into them yet, that's all. If he's the man from the third door, I can't imagine she won't be here, too. Who's losing their confidence now? In any event, tomorrow we talk to the nun. I only hope it goes as well as it did today. You've got me. You don't have anything to worry about. Or, all things considered, you might not even need me. No, I wouldn't say that. You handled Mell pretty amazingly, though. I'm not going to lie, my heart was pounding the whole time. I was afraid you were going to slip up and say something boneheaded. But you managed to keep it together, and I didn't have to come to the rescue. Well... I could make a book of quotes out of your performance today. Oh, for the love of God, please don't. So, I'm not concerned at all. Say whatever you think is the right thing to say. I'm more than happy to sit back and watch. The more you pile on the expectations, the more afraid it makes me that I'm not going to trip up. That I'm going to trip up. Besides, I don't think I could have done any of that without you. Why not? Well, my life was hardly as pride-worthy as Mell seemed to think. So I didn't really feel like I had a right to talk to him like that. But knowing you were there, urging me on, was what allowed me to act without hesitation. So, thank you. No thanks necessary. But if you say so, then you're more than welcome. I'm glad I could be of assistance, if just a little. That you were. Now, let's keep this momentum up tomorrow. It's getting a bit late, though, so you should probably get some sleep. What is it? I kind of don't want to sleep. What? Why not? For somewhat childish reasons. Aw, are you sad you won't be able to hear my voice? Are you lonely, you poor, poor dear? I am. What? That's the last thing I expected you to admit to. Okay, well, do you want me to stay up and talk for a little longer then? Not too long, though. You need to rest up for tomorrow. Who knows, maybe I'll show up in your dreams if you wish hard enough. The fact that I'm even able to talk with Giselle right now is a miracle and a blessing. So, is it avarice for me to yearn for more, knowing I've already been granted such a great bounty? I want to see her face as much as she wants to see mine. She's infinitely more expressive than me, and I want a good long look at those many expressions up close. I want more than her voice. I want her whole body. I want to feel her warmth. In this era, I have all 5 of my senses in full working order, as I did when I was alive. Giselle, though, she doesn't. She remains dead. As lively as she may be now, that's one thing she did not get back. I truly wish she could have been here too. She would have certainly found more joy in her renewed life than me. And she certainly belongs under the sun far more than I do. But she, rather than me, was the one left behind in that realm of darkness. A fact that frustrates me immensely. In life, I would have considered her remark about seeing her in my dreams silly and saccharine. But now, I very much hope it happens. "3 days until her death? 2 days until her death."